So I decided to create a brand new video for us getting started. There are several others that are going to be posted as a list in the Canvas and also online if you search for my YouTube videos under Janice Grant, REVIT, probably over 100 videos that I've done throughout the years. So this is the 2022 version, and I'm sure it'll last for a few years to be the same. Just know that REVIT does not let us go back and forth like AutoCAD. If you have an older release of REVIT, you won't be able to open any files that I send you. But for the most part, if you're working with an older release, when you send it to me, I can open it because I have the latest one. So do what you can to get the latest one to be able to work with it. But know that you won't be able to open one that's of a later date if you're using an earlier version. Also, there are no Mac versions of REVIT yet to download like there is the AutoCAD. So the other choice is to use the Macomb server or a server to access the college software. Right. So when you start a brand new drawing like this, you open up REVIT, you'll see this screen. On the left side, you'll see models and families. We're working with models and we're creating a new one. So let's go ahead and click new for the models. Now there are a lot of templates that you can use to start with. I'm going to suggest to use the architectural because it's kind of the basic one. It doesn't have a lot of things that are already created. Templates are meant to be created ahead of time for us to set up settings that are specific for that type of drawing. So even if you needed a construction template, I would recommend starting with an architectural and taking a look at the construction if you'd like, but there are a lot of levels that you might want to create on your own. So let's go ahead and pick Imperial Architectural Template and go ahead and pick OK. So I'm making this a very quick video to give you an overall introduction to the software so that you can get used to it a little bit as we start to work with assignments. On the left side, you'll probably see both the project browser and the properties. Depending on how it's loaded, sometimes these can be stacked one on top of each other, or they're smaller, right? Smaller boxes. Either way, I'd like you to hold your left mouse button down on that strip right there where it says properties and undock that palette right there. And then pick it up and try to put it here on the right hand side. You have to pull it all the way over, like all the way over until it changes its shape and then let go in order to dock it. And I like to have them docked on both sides so that you can see the entire menu, because I think by default you would then have them either stacked or smaller, and it's kind of hard to see the whole thing once we start to work with it a lot more. So right now we're in level 1 and you can see that it's dark there, and it becomes kind of like your first floor plan. And these boxes with triangles are the elevation markers, so you want to make sure that whatever you draw is inside of this, because this is looking towards it to instantly create your elevations. So we'll start with something simple. In the architecture tab there, we'll go ahead and click on wall, and you'll see a lot of things that are changing, right? Because we're inside of a command, everything now is green at the top, and that's one way to know that you're inside of a command. So you have this options toolbar right there, and we know we're going to be establishing the height, so leave that as height on the top left. But we want to change the height from unconnected, which would be an unconnected wall to any level 20 feet. We want to change that to level 2. And when we do that, we know that the wall will go from level 1 to level 2. We'll stick with the location line being the wall center line, but sometimes we need to draw the line on the left side or the right side, or there are other options for that. A chain will give you a chain of walls that are kind of connected. If you didn't have that checked, then once you draw a wall, it's going to end the command, and then you'd have to restart it again. We don't need an offset, but if you come over here in properties, you'll see that we're drawing the basic wall generic 8. If you click on that, you'll see that there's a whole list of different walls that you can use, but we're going to stick with the generic ones for now, just to get like the bigger picture of how to draw. We also have inside the ribbon here, this is the ribbon with these different panels, the draw panel here with all the different ways that you can draw walls. So the default here is lines, but the one next to it is rectangle. So we'll keep it simple. We'll go ahead and click on rectangle. But you can see that if you want to practice a little bit, you can draw arcs and circles, walls that are curved. But we're going to click on rectangle and then just click a point and let go of your mouse button, pull your mouse over, and just randomly go ahead and click another point. And now you just drew those walls from level 1 to level 2. Now all of these smaller blue dimensions that appear are going to be your way of temporarily seeing a temporary dimension to click on it and change the number. This could happen before or after you end the wall tool. So I just clicked on 32 feet or whatever you have, and you don't need to type in the feet, but you'll always need to type in the inches. But here's a better way. If I wanted this to be 40 feet 6 inches, I could type in 40 and space and 6. So if you type in two numbers with a space between it, the feet are the first one and the inches, the second one would be the inches. So you really don't need to type in the inches at this point. Now if I click in space, it changes automatically that dimension to 40 foot 6. So let's see what happens when you end the command and you go back into that editing mode. So one way to end the command is to pick the modify button here at the top left. The modify button at the very top left is going to close out of everything. Another choice would be to use the escape key several times, or to right click and pick cancel several times. But I've noticed that sometimes we need more than one click on escape to end it, and sometimes it keeps you inside a command. So I would say for now, click on the modify button at the top left, and you see how it kind of like takes you out of anything green at the top and you're back to your walls. Now if I click right on top of one of these walls once, just once, then I'll get that temporary dimension back, and this is where you can click on the number and start to work with it. If you needed that to be so many inches, you'd have to type in the inches, but like I said, if you just needed to be 40 feet, type in 40. If you needed to be 40 foot 6, type in 40 space 6. We can also click on these little blue balls here to change the dimension from the center of the wall to the inside of the wall. Or if you keep clicking on that witness line or that kind of grip there, it will go to the outside wall. So if I go here to the inside wall there, and then I come here and I click to the inside wall there, I know what the dimension is. Maybe I wanted it to be, I don't know, 39 feet from inside wall to inside wall. So now I'll type in 39 and enter, and now it's 39 feet. Okay, there are other tools here that we'll be getting to, but know that this double arrow means that the wall is facing out. So you always want these double arrows to be facing outward, but if I click on it, you see how it changes it. So sometimes in a bigger, really busy drawing, you may see the drywall that's supposed to be on the inside and on the outside, and then the brick on the inside, so you have to go in and switch the orientation of that wall. You can also make these temporary dimensions permanent, but we'll be talking all about dimensions at some point. All right, so now we have these walls that are the exterior walls, let's say, and we want to see what it looks like in 3D. Well, I don't see a 3D yet view in the project browser. These are just really views of your model, which is all one model, right? So at the very top, we have the quick access toolbar, and there's a little icon of a house up there. You can click on the little arrow next to it and see that there's a camera and a walkthrough we'll be getting to, but we want to click on the house. Another way to get there would be to go to the View tab and click on it here. But we're going back to the Architecture tab, and we're going to stay in the Architecture tab to work with some of these basics. There it is. There's your 3D wall instantly created. If you hold your Shift key at the same time as the wheel of the mouse, you can start to move your mouse in orbit. This is something you probably will be doing quite often. You can use the View cube, which is very similar to AutoCAD, to hold your left mouse button down. It's not as fluid there. And we also have the navigation bar, very similar to AutoCAD, to use this full navigation wheel. In case you don't have the mouse and you're on a laptop, I use this a lot. We have other view commands, and orbit is right here. So if you don't have the wheel on your mouse, I would recommend getting it. You can hold your left mouse button down on orbit and kind of get that same way of viewing the drawing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this full navigation wheel, and I want to go back to my level 1. Now guys, the wheel of the mouse is very similar here as in other programs. You can roll the wheel back and towards the drawing to zoom. You can hold the wheel down to pan, and you can double click on the wheel to bring you to the outer limits of that drawing. Okay, so to get back to level 1, because we're in the 3D view, you can click on the level 1 tab here, but eventually if you open up more than one file, you're going to have 2 level 1s, so it can be a little bit challenging to know what drawing you're in. So I would recommend double clicking on the project browser level 1 to make sure you're back at the right level 1. So now we can click on wall again, and instead of using this basic generic wall, you can scroll down and see that you have a lot of different interior walls. I'm just going to go ahead and click the 5-inch partition, but you can pick whatever you'd like. And notice that if you just get close to any wall there, you'll see some kind of dimension. You can randomly click to create this room, come all the way down and click, and now you have your wall. And you can throw in a couple more here, interior walls, if you'd like to round that out, and you can create your own drawing. It's very open to whatever you'd like to draw, as long as you're using the tools. And honestly, you could draw exactly what I do, but I'd encourage you to venture a little bit. At the end, you see how I have this green here? You know that you're inside of a command still, so you want to click on the modify icon there at the top left. All right, so same way as we modified the other walls, you can click on here and change the dimension. But you can also hold your left mouse button down on the wall and just simply drag it to your new location. Now there'll be more with that as we start to work with these drawings a lot more. We do have doors, windows, and other components and families they're called, that we're bringing into our drawing. So let's go ahead and click on door. That's the next icon. There are only a few doors here. The single flush is the one that's loaded into this brand new drawing. So at first we'll just use a couple of these. You can see that there are different sizes. I'll just go ahead and randomly go close to one of these walls and then pull your mouse over to where you might want it to go. Before you place it, you can use your your space bar to switch the orientation of the door swing, and then click. Right. So here I can start to put in a couple of these doors, changing the orientation by clicking on the space bar. And once you place them, just like we did before, you have these arrows here that will change the swing of the door and the direction of it, and also the temporary dimensions to change location or just drag it to where you need it to go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click modify to get out of that. We'll load other doors, but I'd like to at least place the defaults. So let's go ahead and click on window. And there's only this 1 or 2 windows here that are loaded in this drawing. So whether you use fixed or this casement double, that's probably okay. You go ahead and make a choice. When you get close to the wall, you can kind of see where the window might go, and then you just click right there. Okay, so pick the modify button again to make sure that you're completely out of that. Now, how do I load doors and windows into my drawing? I can load them individually through the command. Like when I start the door tool, I can go load family, or what I'm going to do is close out of that and go over to insert. The insert tab, and clicking load family will help us to load a variation of a lot of different families, and not just specifically the doors. So we'll go to insert and pick load family. This is where sometimes I have to say that sometimes Autodesk lately has not loaded this automatically. It gives you guidance on how to load it when you first load the software. In fact, let me cancel out of this and show you that, just in case you don't have those folders. There is an icon there now, a new one, that's load Autodesk families. And this is from the cloud in case you don't have the folders already established. There have been some issues with this, so I'm hoping that you can get your families loaded so that we can keep moving here along. I'm going to go ahead and click load family. And these are the folders that have all of the families, or they're kind of like blocks in AutoCAD where you have doors and windows and furniture and all kinds of different things that you can bring into the drawing. So we'll double click on doors. And here we have a whole list of doors that we can choose from, or we can make it residential. We can double click on residential folder. And then as you click on these, you can see the drawings and see how the preview looks. Now, if you want to look at it through the preview by clicking on it or using your arrow keys to see it, that's fine. Or you can change over here under views at the top left, the thumbnails, change it to thumbnails, and then you'll be able to kind of visually see the graphics of those doors. We have a garage door. You can hold your control key down if you'd like to, load more than one door. Sometimes you don't really need to have all of them, but your choice. And then when you pick open, it's going to give you each one of these to decide on a specific size. So completely up to you if you want to just use the default, which if you picked OK right now, it would just load in the one size that's the default, depending on the family. But if you need a specific door type, width and height, I would then highlight whatever that door is, and then for that specific family you will get that door. I'll go ahead and pick OK just to show you that they're loading right now. And then since we're here, we were loading the doors. I think I called it a window, so let's just remember that it was a door. So let's go back to insert and load family. These are all doors, right? So we're going to go back up to the English and Imperial folder and scroll down to Windows. At the very bottom there, you can double click on Windows. There are several different types of windows here. If you want to hold your control key down, you can get some of these casement windows, or another popular type of window is the double or single hung window that should be in here. Look at them all. There's so many. But guys, you can get a lot of these windows from the websites too. There are a lot of free ones out there. People are going to Revit City, revitcity.com. You have to sign in, but there are hundreds, thousands of families that you can load to get specific things like treadmills and unique pieces of equipment that might not be here in the downloaded software. So I'm going to go ahead and pick open, and the same thing here. If you needed a specific size, you could do that. I'm going to go ahead and just pick OK. Now the last thing that we're going to load, you might get this because I selected a window that was already loaded. So you can override the existing one, or you can cancel out of it so that it won't load that specific one. I just override it because it's the very same thing. I'll go ahead and pick load family again, but this time I'm going to go back up to English and Imperial and just pick up some furniture. So double click on the furniture file, and you'll see that there are some kind of unique pieces here, like a flat screen TV and the stand. Sometimes when we bring these in, we have to look at them in the 3D view or in kind of a section view to make sure that their height is elevated, or you can click right on it and check the properties to see what the height of it is. So for this one, I just really want to go into seating here, and just to show you that this is available, I'll go ahead and pick here a sofa, and maybe one of these chairs. This is a new one, a couple of new ones here. I'm going to go ahead and pick, see what they look like. Yeah, you go ahead and load your own things and do your own work with your own drawing. Go ahead and pick open. And now we have kind of a handful of things open and are loaded that we can work with. Make sure I'm still recording. We can go over to architecture. And at this point, you can go into door and window and get your doors and windows that you loaded over there in the properties. But the furniture itself is going to be under component. So you go ahead and load and use your different doors and windows. I'm going to go to component and place a component. So anything that doesn't have its own system families, like the walls, the doors, the windows, is going to be a component. And here are all of the things that I loaded: the chair, the couch. And before I place it, I can use the space bar again to kind of rotate it, and then I'll come in here and click. So I can come back here and pick something else, come out here, rotate it with my space bar, and pick where I want to put it. So you have a lot of things that you can download. There's some things already in here, like some trees and things for when we get to the site plan. A desk that maybe might go in here, and there. So even after you place it, if you click it and you escape out, so I clicked on the modify button to escape out of it. Well, actually I use the escape key several times to get completely out. You can click right on that chair and use the arrow keys to move it over to where you want it to go, or you can use these temporary dimensions, or again, you can just select your table or chair and just drag it over. You can see once you select one of these components or families, you can use the modified tools like rotate to rotate that object. So if I wanted to rotate this desk, I select it, I pick rotate, I click straight up here as a choice, pull my mouse around here and click to rotate it. And then I can hold my left mouse button down on it and drag it across. All right, you see how the ribbon is green because I have something selected. So make sure that you're completely out of that that family before you go on to a different tool. Okay, so now we have this model. It has no floor in it, so we're in level 1. Let's go ahead and place a floor. Over here under the build, we'll go under floor and pick architectural floor. Now, right away, take a look. This is something to be aware of. We are not in the regular REVIT screen. We are now in a sketch mode, and you know it's sketch mode because you have a modified tab and all this different color up here, and specifically because you have a red X and a green check mark. When you see this, a lot of the other functions, see when I go into other tabs, are grayed out. So if you see that everything's grayed out and you're trying to figure out what's going on, look for the tab that has color. It's usually going to be the far right side right there. And you're kind of like sketching whatever floor you want. The floor can have holes in it, and that's what how we do a hole for like the stairs or an opening in the floor. But it has to be kind of a closed boundary, right? So if you had a hole in it, it couldn't overlap the main floor outline. So again, we have a draw panel. I can click on rectangle, and it also depends on what you're doing with the section. Is this floor going to go all the way to the outside because it's a wood frame? Or is there a foundation that comes up so the floor is on the inside of the wall? So it depends on the construction, right? So I think it'd be okay if we went from on the outside wall. So click at the top left, pull your mouse across, and click here at the bottom right. And we're just using here a generic 12-inch, and we'll start to work with that a lot more as we start to work with other options. Let's go ahead and pick the green check mark. Green check mark will take us out and show us that we have this floor. We can verify it also by going back to the 3D view. And now in the project browser, we do have this 3D view. There it is there. I can double click. I opened it up there, 3D views, double click on 3D view, and there's our floor. If I hold my shift key and my wheel of my mouse, I can kind of roll around here and see, yep, there's my floor, and I created my walls. And even in this view, when I click out of it, I can click on one of these doors and use my arrow keys to move it around, or even hold my left mouse button down and drag it because it's kind of within that host. See what happened when I try to pull it out? There's kind of a connection to the wall. You can delete it, but you want to keep it connected in that wall. Okay, so now let's take a look at placing. I don't have a door in the main door, so I'm just going to go ahead and place one. I can do it right here. Better to do it in the floor plan, but you can in the 3D view put some of these. Did I get any exterior doors? No, but I'm just going to go ahead and put an interior door right there. So you see how easy it was for me to even work in the 3D model. Make sure you escape completely out. Okay, let's go to the level 2 view and put a roof on it. Double click on level 2, and you should be able to see your level 1. If you can't see level 1, because this happens sometimes, over in properties there is a tool that's called Underlay. And Underlay, where it says range base level, that says level 1. Sometimes that says none. If that says none, then you won't be able to see anything that's down below, right? So this Underlay shows what you want to look at in this level 2 level, which is up higher. Here we're looking down and we're able to see level 1. Okay, So we're on level 2 and we're about ready to put a roof. We can go to this roof menu and just rest your pointer on roof by footprint. Take a look at the little graphics there. You'll see that we're going to be put into a sketch mode, just like the purple lines of the floor. And we're drawing lines. We're drawing lines, and those lines have this little triangle attached to the lines that will slope. That's how we determine where our roof pitch is. You see how the top line and the bottom line of this graphics doesn't have a triangle, so those are going to be the gable end or the end that does not slope. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick roof by footprint. Again, we're put into this sketch mode, and notice that it's a basic 12-inch roof. We'll take a look at how to modify that and use different roofs as we start to edit this drawing. But look at the draw panel. The default is to pick walls, but again, you can draw it if you'd like, but we're going to use pick walls, and we're going to change the overhang. Let's make it 1 foot. Now, I just changed the 0 to 1, but if I took this completely out and I put 1 in there, just a 1, it'll go to 1 foot. And because the check mark is in define slope, that means that when I come over here, I'm going to define the side of the wall here of the building that's going to slope, have that sloped roof. And you can see the overhang is that kind of dashed line, so be careful which side of the wall you click on, because you want the overhang to be on the outside. And I'm going to go ahead and click. You see there's a little triangle. So because I have the check mark in define slope, I'm going to go do the same thing down here. But now I'm going to take the check mark out of define slope and come over here and click on this wall and on this wall. Now guys, if you pick the modify button or escape out, you're still in the sketch mode. So if you needed to change one of these, you can still select it and work with the check mark to make sure you have it all in place. Okay. Or the properties. Over here in properties, you have the roof slope. You could change the roof slope. By default, it's a 912. These are some of the defaults that we're going to use for this assignment to get used to working with Revit. And I think some of you have already worked with Revit, so this may be a review. All right, so now I'm ready. I can go ahead and pick the green check mark. And because this is level 2 and level 2 only sees kind of a slice of the model, later on we're going to be taking a look at how to see more of this level 2. But for now, know that level 2 has a range of how much it's showing. Let's go over to the 3D view and we'll see our roof there. Now sometimes the walls will automatically ask if you want them to be extended. If they don't extend, then let's do that right now. You can, in the 3D view, click right on the wall and then look in the ribbon for the tool that's called attach. So click on the wall, click on attach, and then click on the roof. And it automatically will attach to the roof as long as it can go up to it and connect with it. If you hold your shift key and the wheel of the mouse to rotate over here or orbit, you can click on this wall, pick attach, and then click on the roof. So this is our beginning. I know it's not a whole lot in this week. Usually I have way more because in the past I've created 3 videos for you to go through. But I think this semester we're going to take it a little bit at a time. Make sure that you are comfortable with the software before we really dive in. And I will end this video by showing you some things that could happen and things that I think are worth knowing about. If you double click on one of these families, like this door, what it does is it puts you inside the door family. So you're inside that other drawing that's an external drawing. And even if you hold your shift key and the wheel of the mouse, depending on the the family, you can kind of look at it, and we'll take a look at modifying it, because you have all these ways of creating these sweeps and extrusions to modify it. But I'm showing you this because you might accidentally double click on a family and go into a different file. What you want to do is close out of that, right? You want to close out of that. It'll ask if you want to save the changes, pick no, and it brings you back to the drawing. Also, if you double clicked on the roof or the wall or the floor in the 3D view, it'll bring you back to the sketch. I use this sometimes to modify the drawing in the 3D view. It's not 100% of the time, but a lot of times it's easier to modify it in the 3D view, but you can always go back to the different levels. And now when I get back out of it, I can pick the red X there to get out. Oh, and periodically you're going to be asked if you want to save the project, and for the most part you want to go save it from the beginning. So up here you can go to the big the file depending on the release. Some releases you can click on the R there at the top. So go to file and go down to save, and navigate over to whatever folder that you need to save this in, and then we can start to work with it. This is going to be assignment 1. And now the other thing I wanted to show you here is that we have elevations that are created automatically over here in the project browser. If you double click on one of these elevations, you'll see it right away. And these are our different levels, level 1 and level 2. You can always click on this to change the height of it if you wanted it to be a little bit taller. Maybe it takes the whole thing. It takes the roof and everything up, here for you. Okay, so this is us getting started. Be careful that you're not in the ceiling plan, because in the project browser you have a ceiling and a floor. So sometimes I suggest closing or clicking on that little minus sign to get that ceilings out of there, because look, it's the same. Oh, and we should take a look at changing this. Yeah. Let's take a look at changing the name. We can do it here. We can either click on level 1 in the project browser and right click and pick rename. As you can imagine, there are a lot of different ways of doing things, because I believe if you click on it and you wait and you click on it again, you can get into this edit mode to change the name. Or over here in the drawing, under these different levels, you can click on it, and then you have to get close enough to be able to click right inside here, and maybe put your uppercase cap locks on first floor, and then over here when you click out of it, it'll say, would you like to rename corresponding views? So there are a lot of views that kind of use that same name. I'm going to pick yes, and it changes it over here. And then the same thing here. I'm thinking out loud if we're going to create another floor on this one, but I think we'll just call this the roof. Okay, and yes, we want to change that view. And I think the reason for that is the ceiling plans also changed, but that's the other reason to be careful, that you're not in a ceiling and you're actually in the floor. Okay, I think that helps us to get started. We can orbit around it to take a look. Go ahead and change your roof slope if you want to practice that. You can put some more furniture in there, add walls, experiment with different types of walls, or you can draw something similar to this with your own doors and windows. See, I didn't put any windows here, so everyone's drawing should be very unique from each other in this first initial assignment. Okay, have fun and let me know if you need any help with this. If you're really wanting to move forward, you can go into the list of videos that I have posted and watch all 3 of the beginning big picture videos so that you can keep moving forward with this and kind of have fun with building your designs. All right then, have a good one. We'll see you next week.